Most people have heard of the Hudson River, maybe even the East River. But there's another waterway flowing through New York City that holds some of the most fascinating secrets you've never heard of. Today, I want to tell you about the Harlem River. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see New York City in a completely different light. So let's start with the basics. The Harlem River flows for about 8 miles through the heart of New York City, creating a watery border between Manhattan and the Bronx. If you've ever driven across the Triborough Bridge or taken the subway over the 149th Street Bridge, you've crossed it. It starts up north where the Bronx River meets it, flows southwest past Yankee Stadium, and eventually empties into the Hudson River down by the tip of Manhattan. But here's where things get interesting right off the bat. The Harlem River isn't actually a river at all. It's what geologists call a tidal strait, essentially a narrow channel of salt water that ebbs and flows with the tides. The Dutch settlers who first mapped this area back in the 1600s called it Haarlem Creek, named after the city of Haarlem, back in the Netherlands. For centuries, this waterway was the lifeline of northern Manhattan and the southern Bronx. Native American canoes glided along its waters long before European ships arrived. The Lenape people knew this area intimately, calling it Muscuda, which meant either flat place or rushing waters, depending on who you ask. They understood something about this place that we're only just beginning to rediscover. Now, if you look at old maps from the 1800s and compare them to today, you'll notice something strange. The river's path has changed dramatically, and that's where our first real mystery begins. Picture this. It's 1895, and New York City is growing faster than anyone could have imagined. The natural curve of the Harlem River was causing problems for shipping, so city planners made a bold decision. They would literally move the river. Hundreds of workers spent years blasting through solid rock at Marble Hill, creating an artificial channel called the Harlem River Ship Canal. But here's where it gets weird. When they finished their work, they accidentally created a geographical paradox that still confuses people today. Marble Hill, which had been part of Manhattan Island for thousands of years, suddenly found itself physically connected to the Bronx. But legally, politically, and for postal purposes, it remained part of Manhattan. Imagine living in a neighborhood that's technically on Manhattan, but you can only reach by walking through the Bronx. This massive engineering project also revealed something unexpected. As workers dug deeper, they uncovered layer after layer of history. Ancient oyster shells, remnants of Native American settlements, and artifacts from the earliest Dutch colonies. It was like peeling back the pages of a history book written in stone and sediment. But the real mysteries of the Harlem River go much deeper than geography and urban planning. Let me tell you about what's been happening beneath those dark waters, because what scientists have discovered down there is absolutely mind-blowing. In 2007, something appeared in the Bronx River that no one had seen in New York City for over 200 years. A beaver. Scientists named him Jose, and suddenly everyone started asking the same question. If a beaver can survive in these urban waters, what else might be living down there that we don't know about? The answer turned out to be more incredible than anyone expected. Despite decades of pollution, industrial waste, and urban development, the Harlem River had quietly become an unlikely sanctuary for wildlife. Harbor seals started showing up, swimming upstream from the Hudson. Ospreys began nesting along the riverbank for the first time in generations. Local fishermen began reporting catches that seemed impossible for such an urban waterway. But it's not just the wildlife that makes this river mysterious. During the 1920s, when prohibition turned alcohol into liquid gold, rum runners discovered that the Harlem River made the perfect highway for smuggling. Hidden caves and natural tunnels along the riverbank became secret storage facilities for bootleg liquor. Some of these hiding spots were carved into the solid rock by the river's flow over thousands of years, creating natural vaults that the authorities never found. Here's the thing that really gets me. Some of these tunnels were never officially mapped. Urban explorers and local historians still search for them today. following whispered directions passed down through generations of Bronx and Harlem families. Every so often, construction crews will break through a wall or dig a foundation and discover spaces that aren't supposed to exist. And then there are the shipwrecks. Yes, shipwrecks right here in the middle of New York City. There's a sunken tugboat from the 1960s that's become an artificial reef. During low tide, you can sometimes see its outline just beneath the surface. Local divers know exactly where it is, but the city records are strangely vague about how it got there or why it was never removed. The indigenous history adds another layer of mystery. Archaeological digs along the riverbank have uncovered evidence of settlements that predate European contact by thousands of years. Stone tools, pottery fragments, and cooking hearths tell the story of communities that thrived along these waters long before Manhattan had its first skyscraper. Some of these sites are still being studied, and researchers say they're finding artifacts that don't match what they expected to find. But perhaps the most intriguing mystery is what's happening to the river today. Water quality tests show that the Harlem River is cleaner now than it's been in over a century, despite being surrounded by millions of people and countless sources of pollution. Marine biologists can't fully explain why the ecosystem is recovering so quickly, or how species that were thought to be extinct in this area are suddenly reappearing. Local residents have stories too. Fishermen talk about unusually large fish, sightings of creatures that shouldn't exist in these waters, and areas of the river that seem to have their own weather patterns. Night shift workers on the bridges report strange lights under the water that don't match any known marine life or underwater infrastructure. Climate scientists are studying the Harlem River because it seems to be responding to environmental changes in ways they didn't predict. The tidal patterns are shifting, the water temperature fluctuates in unexpected ways, and the river's interaction with the larger New York harbor system is more complex than anyone realized. So the next time you cross one of those bridges or catch a glimpse of the Harlem River from a train window, remember that you're looking at one of New York City's best-kept secrets, a waterway that survived ice ages and urban development, that's witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, and that continues to surprise scientists, historians, and anyone curious enough to pay attention. The Harlem River reminds us that even in the most urban environments, nature finds a way to keep its mysteries. And sometimes the most incredible stories are flowing right beneath our feet, waiting for someone to look a little closer and ask the right questions. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden secrets of New York City with me today, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating stories about the places you thought you knew. What other mysterious waterways or hidden corners of the city should we explore next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.